So on Tuesday night, as we discussed at length yesterday, Tufts grad student Rumeysa Ozturk was surrounded by plainclothes masked people, ICE agents, physically grabbed her off the street by her off-campus apartment in Somerville. She's now in a Louisiana detention center, the same one holding Columbia student Mahmoud Khalil. Her attorneys were unable to contact her for hours and say ICE officials violated a court order barring Ozturk from being taken out of state. Her visa has been revoked despite not being charged with a crime. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says her involvement in an opinion piece in the Tufts student newspaper supporting Palestinians is offensive enough, alleging her speech amounts to material support, he says, for the terrorist group Hamas.
If you apply for a visa to enter the United States and be a student, and you tell us that the reason why you're coming to the United States is not just because you want to write op-eds, but because you want to participate in movements that are involved in doing things like vandalizing universities, harassing students, taking over buildings, creating a ruckus, we're not going to give you a visa.
None of which she did, by the way. Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, who represents Ozturk in her district, and other Massachusetts lawmakers have called for a release. Representative Pressley joins us now on Zoom. Congresswoman, thanks so much for your time.
Good to be with you. Yes, thank you very much for joining us, Congressman. So, what do you make of this?
Well, the video is harrowing. The experience must have been harrowing and continues to be one for Rumeysa Ozturk. This is a PhD student here legally on a student visa, someone making positive contributions to the Tufts community and to my district. And what we saw unfold there, just to paint the scene fully, it's Ramadan. She's on her way to an iftar to break her fast. And then plainclothes men in masks aggressively approach her. She is fearful, you can hear her on the audio, that she might be a victim of a crime herself and says, "I'm calling the police." To which they reply, we are the police. And then she is taken away and detained. And then they defy a judge's order, take her out of state. And so she is in Louisiana right now. And mind you, because her rights of free speech have been violated, this is an attack on free speech. Due process has been violated here. She was not taken before a judge. There was no court process. There's no evidence of any criminal wrongdoing. The only alleged crime is that she exercised free speech and co-authored an op-ed where she affirmed the dignity and humanity of all people and called on Tufts to acknowledge the Palestinian genocide, which she has every right to do under the First Amendment. And because there was no due process, she's also an asthma sufferer.
Yeah.
Takes 2 medications a day and does not have those with her. So wherever you fall on the issue of Israel and Palestine, whether you are a Democrat or a Republican, you should be deeply alarmed by the harrowing events that took place on that video recording, and by this assault and attack on free speech and on due process. This could happen to anyone.
Well, speaking of it, I'm sorry, go ahead, Congressman, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Jim.
Well, even if you say it could happen to anyone, even if Mahmoud Khalil, and we spoke to his lawyer the other day from the Civil Liberties Union in New York City, and Ozturk are freed, is there any reason to think that Trump's people won't just keep doing this again, again, and again? Is there any reason?
There's no reason, Jim. And, the painful contradiction and hypocrisy here is that allegedly this is being done under the guise of law and order, and they continue to empower their agencies to move with lawlessness. This was rogue, it was lawless, it was frightening, it is chilling, and it is meant to intimidate, because that's what a dictator does. They seek to silence dissenting voices. And this is frightening. This is a 5-alarm fire that everyone should be raising their voices in outcry. And I do want to say how heartening it has been to see the Somerville community, Rumeysa's neighbors, who have, received those Know Your Rights trainings, and we're asking all the appropriate questions. But I have to also acknowledge that the fear is palpable and real and growing. That people are afraid to exercise freedom of speech. People are afraid to be in community, and so we're demanding answers. And we are demanding that her visa be reinstated. Myself, Senator Warren, and a number of congressional colleagues have signed on to a letter that I co-led, that we've sent to the administration, demanding answers, due process, and for her visa to be reinstated.
You know, Congressman, one of the things I think is so upsetting to people, and you mentioned the rogue, lawless, frightening, chilling, the people not identifying themselves, some of them, saying they're police without their badges, the mask, the whole thing. But it seems that this keeps happening. I think, how was it, 2 weeks ago, when the Khalil was taken in at Columbia? He's still in Louisiana. His wife is any days away from giving birth. It seems like these lawless and frightening and chilling things keep happening, but we can't do anything about them. I mean, maybe in a month or 2 months or 6 months, or, you know what I mean?
Well, look, again, their strategy is shock and awe. It's to dramatize what it is that they're doing. It is to, the reason they are so anti, wokeness, if you will, is that they want to lull us into a complacency where we see their vision for this country as one that is an inevitability, that we are in our fear oppressed into inaction and indifference. And the only way to respond to a dictator, which is what Donald Trump is with defiance. And the way that we demonstrate that defiance is that we continue to amplify Rumeysa's story. We continue to demand her release and due process, and that her visa is reinstated. We cannot, in silence or even in our fear, be complicit, because they're not going to stop. Mahmoud Khalil, what's happening to Rumeysa Ozturk, again, it could be any of us. I mean, think about our college campuses. These are meant to be places of debate and discourse. You are building up global citizens. I mean, think about the Vietnam War protests. This is what happens on college campuses. And so it is chilling that people could be disappeared, kidnapped in plain view, simply for dissenting opinion. And that's what a dictator does. They seek to silence dissenting opinion, anyone that disagrees with their worldview. And again, Rumeysa has no criminal record. She's not been charged with anything. The only thing she did was co-author an op-ed where she affirmed the dignity and the humanity of all people.
Well, one last question then. Let's assume a person who is here legally, like the young man who graduated from Columbia, or like Ozturk, comes to you, Congresswoman, and says, I want to sign an op-ed exactly like the one Ozturk did, showing my support for the Palestinian people. But I'm worried that I want to stand up, I want to speak out, like you said on that radio show. I'm worried that's going to happen to me. What do you tell him or her?
That is their constitutional right to exercise freedom of speech. And we cannot allow this dictator to win by denying us that which are our constitutional rights. And that in the same way, I mean, look, I can't talk anyone out of their fear, okay? I have to meet people where they are, and ultimately they make a decision based on their own comfort. But I'm very clear that what the Trump administration wants is to silence dissenting voices that are alternative to their own worldview and their belief system. Those are the actions of a dictator. And the only way we beat a dictator is to continue to organize, is public outcry, is defiance. And again, we have sent in this letter to the administration demanding due process, her immediate release, and for her visa to be reinstated. If we just are silent, they will only continue to be that much more emboldened in these rogue and lawless authoritarianist actions.
You know, Congresswoman, Jim said one last thing for me. There's a planned nationwide demonstration April 5th. Part of it's going to be taking place here in Boston. The chill, it may extend not just to people that are here from different countries, but to United States citizens. Should we be worried about ICE being on Boston Common, looking for people to take away if they say the wrong things?
Well, again, the only way to meet a dictator is with defiance and with solidarity and community. And as I said when I was on your show previously, if anyone in this moment thinks that they can otherize who stands to be impacted by the dangerous, lawless, and rogue actions of this administration, you are sadly and sorely mistaken. In the same way that their executive actions are coming for everyone, and people from every walk of life and every member of this community will feel that hurt, the same is true for these actions when it comes to what we just saw happen in Somerville with Rumeysa Ozturk, and what we saw several weeks ago with Mahmoud Khalil, who should be home with his pregnant wife. Again, no evidence of any criminal wrongdoing, a denied due process. And so this could happen to anyone. This is an assault on free speech. This is an assault on due process, and everyone should be alarmed. And I need everyone to join us in public outcry while I continue to work very closely with my colleagues in the Massachusetts delegation, with Mayor Ballantyne of Somerville, and of course with Rumeysa's legal counsel.
Congresswoman, as always, we can't thank you enough for your time. We hope to speak to you again soon.
Hope to see y'all in person.
Yes,
hope
we
that
would love
happens.
that. Thank you very much for taking the time, Congresswoman. We
Thank you.
appreciate it.